If I were asking you, because we will have peer-to-peer gambling coming up later, thanks to Zen Sports, to bet on Tennessee's 8 SEC opponents right now, Caleb Calhoun, where would you stand on Tennessee finishing? First, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I am doing very good. How are you doing today, Dave?
I'm well, off and running with a lot of news. So right now, home, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, away, Arkansas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt. Let me ask you, where would you put the over-under if we were placing an over-under on those 8 games? Your thoughts?
I'd set the over-under at 6.5.
6.5.
That's my move. Yes, 6.5. And I think Tennessee fans should be thrilled with the schedule. I mean, absolutely thrilled. So let's think about what was going to happen here. You were going to have to play Texas or Oklahoma. Every team was going to have to play Texas or Oklahoma. So playing Oklahoma on the road is not a big deal. You actually had a non-conference opponent. You had a non-conference game with Oklahoma scheduled originally that was canceled because they joined the SEC. So really nothing changes there. And you get all 5 of your rivals that you care about: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Depending on when you became a Tennessee fan, one of those teams is your biggest rival that you hate the most. And you get all 5 of them. And part of that all 5 means you get to play Vanderbilt and Kentucky still. And then the other draws you get are Arkansas and Mississippi State. 2 programs that I think Arkansas is losing KJ Jefferson after this year. And Sam Pittman, that program seems a little bit in trouble with Sam Pittman. And I mean, Mississippi State is a disaster right now. Obviously, a very tragic situation that happened there, but they're not going to be a good program in 2024. So you couldn't really ask for a better draw if you're Tennessee than this.
That's true, but we do have to look at this as a one-year thing because I believe it could change in the future. So when we look at a lot of these schedules, it's like the old Tennessee-Alabama debate over whether or not Alabama should be on the schedule. And there's times that Alabama fans didn't want Tennessee on the schedule because Tennessee was dominating that in a streaky series. So we have to kind of look at this in a one-year version because I believe that it will change at some point, might even go to the 9-game schedule of permanent opponents at some point. So when I look at home Alabama, that was going to happen anyway. Home Florida, that was going to happen anyway. Kentucky, help me with the years. Kentucky would have been on the road, right?
They would have been at home next year, and they're still at home. And Vanderbilt would have been on the road next year, and they're still on the road.
Okay, so Kentucky, nothing changes there. So you add Mississippi State at home, which should be a win. Away, you go to Arkansas, which is a tougher place to play than a lot of people think. But still, Tennessee should be able to win that game. You go to Georgia, which you would have done anyway, and you go to Oklahoma. So Tennessee is able to draw Oklahoma out of the Texas-Oklahoma bid because every team was going to play either Texas-Oklahoma. And I'm not sold on Steve Sarkisian right now at Texas. I'm not sold on that program, but I'm more sold on it than Oklahoma with Brent Venables, who I think is kind of stumbling along trying to find his head coaching sea legs. And I just don't know how it could have gone better. You add Oklahoma essentially is your road game. That's essentially the difference in the schedule. And Arkansas, I know that as well. But, I mean, on the road against Oklahoma, Tennessee, you would think, would have a great chance and probably be favored in winning that game. I'm with you. I think the schedule, and everybody's going to fuss about this and that and whatever, but there are some clear-cut winners and clear-cut losers we'll get to. I don't know that Tennessee's a clear-cut winner, but I think they're in the top third of the SEC of fans that should be happy with that schedule. Let's hear from you on the message board. What do you think of the schedule? But Caleb, I think they're right up there. Travis says, I'm just happy Georgia is going to play legit 5 games. It's possible for Alabama and or Georgia to have 3 or 4 losses. Florida has a tough schedule, according to the message board. South Carolina has not played UGA 3 times since 1948. I just hate not playing them next year. There are a lot of things that are going to go out of style, out of fashion, and out of tradition with this schedule. But when I look at Tennessee, I think fans should come away very, very happy. And we'll get to the guys that got the business here in a little bit because Oklahoma and Alabama did. Yeah, I think Tennessee's in good shape. And your thoughts overall on the schedule?
Yeah, no, I think Tennessee's in great shape. I am with SC Scout Guy. That South Carolina Georgia's a rivalry that predates South Carolina joining the SEC. Yes, Georgia kind of owns that, but that's like it's the Low Country rivalry. For those who don't know the South, Low Country South is a little bit different from Delta South, which is a little bit different from Appalachia South, which is a little bit different from Florida South. And I don't know, Georgia, South Carolina, that's like I like to call that the Low Country champion. And so for them to get rid of that kind of was a gut punch.
Yeah, and I don't think I think some people got hosed, and we're going to talk about that, but I definitely don't think Tennessee did. And listen, here's the simple fact. The schedule is going to look tougher on June the 15th than it did on June the 13th because you're adding a Texas and Oklahoma. In and of itself, those are storied programs. They might be up or might be down at this current time, but you're adding significant programs. So you shouldn't have woken up this morning and thought to yourself, hey, this is going to be as easy of a schedule as you had in June, the early part of June. It's going to be more difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And well, yes, it's theoretically supposed to be more difficult, but it's still 8 conference games and it's still spread out a little bit. So, I mean, I still challenge if it is more difficult. I mean, you and I both have major questions about Oklahoma and Brent Venables. So the fact that Tennessee gets to play Oklahoma next year, Dave, I got a question. Are we sure that Oklahoma is a harder draw than South Carolina next year?
I think,
not long term, just next year.
Just next year, I think they're pretty equal. And listen, this is the Dave that said that Shane Beamer was going to be on the hot seat early November. Okay, so that's how far I've come on South Carolina. No, I think as far as just next year, going to South Carolina and going to Oklahoma are a coin flip.
Yes, I agree. I agree. The big win was not having to play Texas, quite honestly. And so I think Tennessee is – look, I think they should love this schedule. I think they should absolutely love it. And because, again, you couldn't get – given what we knew they were going to have Tennessee play, given the teams we knew they were going to have to play, of the teams we didn't know, this was the easiest draw they could have possibly asked for.